Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Beis. We'll begin Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph, 6 lines from the bottom. Lema kitanoi. Let's say the machlokes Abayin Rava, whether Baal Chayv is lamafreu goiva or mikan al habo is a machlokes tanoim. We learned in a brayso Yisrael shehil v'lenachri al chametz hayid v'len mani tanachri, and he had the chametz of the nachri as a security. Lachar Pesach ain't over. After Pesach, if he gets hanof from it, he's not over. Mishum Rabbi Meir Amru over, but Rameir says he is over. My love b'hakamiflgi. So let us say that this is the machlokes. The Mar Savar Lamafrehu Goiva, that Rameir holds like Abaya that the Baal Chayv is Goiva Lamafreya. And therefore, since he's Goiva L'Mafreya, it comes out that the Chametz really belonged to the Yid. It really was the Chametz of the Yisrael. Because when the Nachri doesn't pay L'Mafreya, retroactively, it turns out that it was the Chametz of the Yisrael. And therefore, it's Chametz Shalav Pesach, and he's over. Umar Sover, Mikanul Habahu Goiva, the Tanakama holds like Rava, that he's Goiva, that he's Mikanul Haba, and therefore the Chametz was belonged to the Yisrael only after Pesach. During Pesach, it belonged to the Nachri, so it's not Chametz Shalav of Pesach, and therefore it's Mutar B'Hano. V'tizbara, the Gemara says, can you really say that that's machlokes? Ema Seifa, the Seifa says, Aval Nachri shehil v'al Yisrael achametz, the Nachri that he lent money to Yisrael and he had security from the Yisrael's chametz. La'achar Pesach divra kol over. After Pesach, everyone says it's also that he'll be over if he gets honor. Now, here it should be just the opposite of the previous case. If you're telling me that, according to Rameir, it's lamafreu goiva, well, then if that's the case, then you should say, according to Rameir, it should be the opposite. Then lamafreya, that this chametz belonged to the Nachri and he's not over. Then you should say hacha. According to the Tanakama, who says that he's not over because he says that it's mikanul haba, then hacha. Here he should be over because during Pesach it belonged to the Yisrael. According to Rameir, who said in the previous case in the Reisha that he was over, hacha ain't over. If he should over here, it should not be over because if you say it's lamafreya, then lamafreya, it belonged to the Nachri. Elamai, you can't say that that's machlokes. So we have to explain the machlokes differently. Elahacha, what is the case over here? Elahacha b'mayaskinan, we're talking over here where it was not just a security, it was actually a mashkin, and he deposited the chametz into the rishus of the malva. We're talking where the malve, the leva, deposited the chametz into the rishus of the malve. Now, Seisus explains, and we'll see this becomes more relevant, this fine point, a little bit later. We'll see that Seisus says that it was given at the time of the loan. At the time of the loan, that the leva deposited into the rishus of the malve. So what's the machlokes? What are we saying the machlokes is? And the machlokes is this halacha of Rav Yitzchak. That machlokes is, what is the status of a mashkan? When we say that the malva has a mashkan, what is the status of that? Who is the owner of that mashkan? The Rav Yitzchak says, "Minayin lebal chayv shekayna mashkan." How do you know that a bal chayv, a creditor, when he has a mashkan, he actually has ownership on it? Shenemar ulachat tiyeh tzedakah. It says when you return it, ulachat tiyeh tzedakah. It says hashev tashiv leizavay. You return it, and it'll be considered for you as a tzedakah. Now, you made a kaina, that's tzedakah minayin. If it's not yours, how can it be considered tzedakah? Tzedakah is when you give something of yours, what you own, to the other person. So, therefore, you see from the fact when the Torah says that you return it to the leva, it's considered to be a tzedakah. You see over here that the Baal Chayv is actually kind of the mashkin. It's considered to be his. So Rashi explains that it's considered to be his, and therefore, if he loses it, if it gets lost, or it's stolen, even al yedei eines, then it's considered like he had repayment of the loan, and therefore he cannot make a further claim on the loiva. Taisus argues with that, and Taisus says that no, that he's considered to be a shomer soch, and therefore he's only chayav, he's only liable through if it's a gneva aveda, but not through an oinus. If it's an oinus, he is not chayav. Now Rashi says even if it's an oinus, even if there is an oinus over here, and that's the reason that he lost it, he cannot make a further claim on the loiva. The Shach has a kasha, the Achronim has a kasha, but from the Gemara, the Mishnah B'Motzia on the pay, it would seem to be not like that, because it says that he's considered shomer socha. So the Shach makes a chilik whether the mashkan was taken at the time of the loan, or when the loan became due and the loiva didn't repay. And he says that when do we consider it to be a shomer socha? He said we consider it to be a shomer socha. That's when the mashkan was taken at the time of the loan. Then that's when it's a shomer socha. But if the loan became due, and now the loiva gave the malva mashkan, then, at least according to Rashi, he wants to say that we treat it as if that's repayment of the loan, and therefore it's considered to be mamish his, the malvas, and therefore there's no claim even through an oinus. It's considered to be that his item was ne'enas, and therefore there's no claim. So it Taisus that says that here we're talking where the chametz was given, the mashkin was given at the time of the loan, not a time of repayment, and it fits in very well that Taisus says he is only considered to be a shomer socha. But Al Kol Panim, Rabbi Yitzchak says that the Baal Choiv is kinda a mashkan. So therefore, now we explain the machlokes as follows. Tana kama sovar hanimil Yisrael Yisrael. Where do we say that the Baal Choiv is kinda the mashkan is considered to be his? That's only when the loiv and the malva are Yisrael, because that's what the pasuk is talking about. The pasuk is talking to a case is when it's lent to a Yisrael lent to another Yisrael. So therefore, dafka in such a case, hanimil Yisrael, who the Korean be'elachot tzedakah. That's when we apply the pasuk that says it's tzedakah, that you're the owner. Aval Yisrael min nachri like honey, but a Yisrael from a nachri, he's not kinda, and it doesn't apply, and therefore he's not kinda the mashkan. If it's Yisrael min a nachri, he's not kinda the mashkan. Therefore, in the Reisha, it was the Yisrael was the malva, and he took the mashkan from the nachri. He's not kind of the mashkan. Now, therefore, they would hold that the Baal Chayv is kind of mikan ulahaba, not lemafreya. So that would be shtem according to Rava. He's kind of mikan ulahaba, not lemafreya, and therefore the issue over here is that whether these as a Baal Chayv, he's kind of the mashkan, does he kind of the mashkan? So therefore, the Tanakama holds that it doesn't apply. He's not kind of the mashkan, and therefore, since he's not kind of the mashkan, therefore it's muter bahana. Rabbi Meir savar kal v'chaymer, and Rabbi Meir holds a kal v'chaymer. If you say Yisrael Yisrael kani, if a Yisrael is kind of the mashkan, he's kind of from another Yisrael, then certainly Yisrael minachri l'kol sheken. Certainly he'll be kind of from a nachri, and therefore Rabbi Meir holds that since the mashkin is his, that's why it's also, because the chametz during Pesach belonged to the Yisrael. So really I'll tell you that they both hold mikan ulhaba. Okay. They both hold mikan ulhaba. The question is, by a mashkin, when we say it's a mashkin, it's not just a security, it's a mashkin, and here it's like, and it's been deposited into the rishus of the malva, is he kind of mashkin in the case of a nachri. And therefore, Meir says he is, and therefore it's also, Tanakama says he's not. How will Abaya understand it? Who holds the mafreya? That we'll see shortly. So the more continues, Aval Nochri Shehilva Es Yisrael Al Chametza. Now, how do we explain the Seifa that a Nochri Shehilva Es Yisrael Al Chametza Achar Pesach Dira Kol Oiver? Everyone agrees that he's over. Hasam Vare Nachem Yisrael Loikani. Anachri from Yisrael, his rights are not that strong, and he's not kind of the mashkin. The mashkin is not his, so therefore the mashkin the chametz belong to the Yisrael, and therefore divra kol over. He'll be over if he gets hana from it. How will Abaya explain the Reisha? How will he explain the Reisha? Abaya holds that lemafreya hukaina. So Abaya will explain. Taisa says that we're talking in a case where the loan was ultimately paid. He paid ultimately the loan. So therefore, it's not a case of the mafreya hugay because the loan was paid. The question is, the machlokes is, in the meantime, during Pesach, the malva had the mashkan. Who owns the mashkan? And that's the machlokes. Do we apply the din of Rav Yitzchak in the case of a Yisrael min Nachri? Do we apply in the case of Yisrael min Nachri only min Yisrael? Tanan, we learned in our Mishnah, Nachri shehel v'Yisrael al chametz. The Nachri lent to the Yisrael, and he had security of the chametz. Achar Pesach muter b'hana. After Pesach is muter. So we say nehi nami derehina etzlai. Well, even if you say that he deposited the chametz by the Nachri, that the Yisrael deposited by the Nachri, who was the malva, ha'amrat nacham Yisrael lekani. But you're telling me that Nachem Yisrael is not kaina, that is, doesn't acquire the mashkan. So therefore, how can you say Nachri Shehilva Yisrael Chametza Achar Pesach Muter? If the Nachri did not acquire it, how can it be Muter after the Pesach? The more answers like Kasha, how the commissioner's case is referring to the case where the Leiva said, he spoke out, he said to the Mal, when he gave him the chametz, he deposited the chametz, he said to him that if he defaults on the loan, if he doesn't pay, then he should collect it, he can collect it me'achshav, from now. And how delay amalei me'achshav. And the Bryce's case is where he did not say me'achshav. You see, if he said it me'achshav, therefore it belongs to him retroactively. The way the Ramban explains it is, when he says me'achshav, that you have the right to collect it from now, what it means to say is that really this is a sale. In case it's a tanai, it's a mechira al tanai that he doesn't pay back the loan. If he doesn't pay back the loan, it's a mechir. If he does pay back the loan, then it's not a mechir. But if he doesn't say me'achshav, then it's only mikan al haba, and therefore we don't say that there's been a transfer retroactively. Uminal Tamra, where do we see this? That there's this chilik, the shani liminal Tamra, the shani lebein heichad amar me'achshav, vein heichad alay amar me'achshav. Where do we see this chilik? The sign. Nachri shehir and pas porni etzi Yisrael. If a Nachri gave for a security, a large loaf of bread, and he gave it to the Yisrael, ein oiver. The Yisrael is not oiver. It's not considered his chametz. It's not his considered chametz on Pesach, so it's not over bal yiro b'yamas. Ve'im amrla hegaticha. But if the Nachri said to the yid, "It is yours," then over, then the yid is over. U'maishna reisha, maishna seifa. What's the difference between the two cases? What is the chilik between them? So we say shani heichad amrle me'achshav lehecha delay amrle me'achshav. There's a difference where he said me'achshav or not. If he said, the Nachri said that if he doesn't pay they'll back the loan, the yid can collect the chametz from now, then it's his retroactively. And if he does default, that is, then it's his retroactively. And if he doesn't say that, then it only is mikanu lahaba. That concludes the sugya of Bal Chayiv mikanu lahaba goiver or lemafreya. Tana Rabbanan Chanus Shal Yisrael. If there's a store of Yisrael umalai Shal Yisrael, and it's stocked with the merchandise of Yisrael. But the workers are not going to come in and out. If you find chametz there after the Pesach, we would assume that the chametz is the storekeeper's, and he's Yisrael, so it's also because it's chametz shavar of Pesach. Then and so therefore it's also ba'anav vein tzarich leimer ba'achila, and certainly ba'achila eating is also. But chanus shel nochri. But if you have the opposite case, the chanus shel nochri, the store is a noch, umalai shel nochri, and it's stocked with the merchandise of the noch. Upali Yisrael nechnas v'yaisum l'sham, and the workers are yidden who go in and out over there. Then chametz shenim tzasham achar Pesach muter ba'achila. then if you find chametz afterwards, it's mutar b'achila v'enzach loimer b'hano, and certainly it's mutar b'hano. Meaning, in both cases, we assume that if there's the merchandise, if there's the chametz in the store, it belongs to the owner of the store, the owner of the merchandise, not the workers who happen to be going in and out. It's possible that the workers took their own chametz, they went in and out, and they had their own chametz. But we say that no, it's more likely, it's mustaber, that it belongs to the owner of the store, the owner of the merchandise, rather than the workers that are going in and out. Zok the Mishnah, chametz shenafal alav poilos. If there's chametz and a ruin collapsed on it, so now the chametz is buried under the ruin, hareo kimavor. It's treated as being already mavor. You don't have to dig it out and remove it. It's considered already that it was mavor. It says that Shivas Yom Nisor Lo Yimatzu B'Bateichem, and over here it's not Motzi, it's Kimavur. It's not considered to be something that already has been removed, and so therefore you are not Oiver Bal Yiro on that Chametz. Rav Shimon Gamliel Leimer, he says, Kol She'ena Kelev Yachal Chapes Achrav, it's only, when do you treat it as mavur? It's only if it's deep enough, it's buried under such a pile of rubble, it's so deep that the dog, when he's searching and scrounging around for food, he won't be able to dig it up. He won't be able to smell it and dig it up. Then it's considered mavur. But otherwise, it's not considered mavur. Even though we say that the chametz is mavur, as the Gemara of Chisda says, that tzorach shevat beliba. Nevertheless, midrabanan, he has to make a beliba, he has to make bittul, so that midaraisa he's not over in any event, it's not his anymore. So that in the unlikely event that a dog happens to pull it up, it happens to get dug up, he won't be over anyway because he already made bittul. Tana, we learned in the Brisa, Kama Chafisas Akelev. So Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, Kol She'ena Kelev Yachal Chapes. How deep is the pile? How much does it have to be buried under? How much is that? Shleisha Tvachim. It's 3 Tvachim deep. Amalei Racha Brei Rav Yosef Rav Ashi Ad Amar Shmuel Ksaf Me'elam Shmir Ela B'Karka. If it's Shemer Chinam, he's entrusted with money, so he has to put it in safekeeping. The only way to ensure that it's safe and that the Ganavim won't find it is you have to bury it in the ground. So it's only B'Karka. Mi Be'in Shleisha Tvachim Oiloi. Do you also have to bury it 3 Tvachim deep or not? Amalei Rav Ashi said, no, you don't. Here, the reason why you need 3 tvachim deep is because the dog might sniff it out. And if it's not 3 tvachim deep, he might then sniff it out and then dig out and remove it. That's why it has to be 3 tvachim. But over there, it just has to be concealed. So you don't need that depth. V'kama. So how deep must it be? Rav from Bar Papa Mesichra, Rav Papa Mesichra said a tefach, only a tefach. But over here you need 3 tefachim. The Sfas Emes has an interesting chakir. He has an interesting shaila over here. When we say you need 3 tefachim, is that it's only considered a mavur if there's 3 tefachim? Or is the pshat that really it's mavur even if it's not 3 tefachim? But because there's a chashash that a dog might sniff it out and pull it out, you need 3 tefachim. What's the nafka mina? Let's say it's only a pile of 2 tefachim. Can you add on another tefach on top of it? Now, if you say that it's mavur already, even though it doesn't have 3 tefach, but it's only a chashash that the dog might sniff it out, and it's like zer de rabbanan, therefore there needs 3 tefachim, so I could say that I just put on a pile, add on another tefach, and then I don't have this chashash. But if you say that it's not considered mavur unless I have 3 tefachim, then you can't make it, since if it's within 30 days of Pesach, you can't make it into a place that's mavur. So if it's not mavur unless it's 3 tefachim, then you cannot add on this other tefach. So that's a chakira, a shaila that he has.